Hello, my name is Sandy. I received a lung and a kidney transplant. The lung transplant was in 2018, kidney in 2023. My journey began when I found out I needed a transplant because I had a reaction to a medication. So that put me in the hospital for a month, and my lungs needed to be replaced. Before my transplant, my life and health were very good. I had retired from teaching high school for 35 years. I was currently teaching college. I was going to yoga twice a week. I was walking in our neighborhood about 4 hours a week. And when I took the medication, within 2 days, I was in the hospital. Within 4 days, I was on a ventilator, struggling to stay alive. I decided to get the transplant when the doctors told me there was nothing else they could do. A transplant was my only hope. The most challenging part of my transplant journey was when I experienced numerous infections, complications from taking the medicine. I think my body trying to get used to the medication. The infection started coming about 2 months after my transplant, and I continued to have complications for really up to 2 years until one of my transplant doctors kind of figured out what was going on and um, helped to stabilize my lungs, and the rejection and the complications stopped. And every once in a while, I'll have a flare up of something. But those first 2 years were extremely challenging and hard. I think the thing that helped me stay strong and hopeful while I was waiting was simply God. One of the ladies in my church gave me a little recorder, and every morning I would get up and look up verses that would help me as I went through the pre-transplant journey. I was very fortunate to have a good support group in my church, my husband, my family, and I never really was scared. I never really was despondent. And I think probably the Bible verses helped the most because I knew that even if I didn't survive, that I knew I would be in heaven with the Lord. Another thing was music, especially a song called Even If by Mercy Me. I played that every day, and that was extremely helpful. Fortunately, I was pretty healthy before. I had healthy habits. I didn't really drink or smoke or anything like that. And my eating habits were, pretty good. I continued to do my walking. The one thing I had to adjust to is kind of silly, but plants. You can't have plants in your house. So all of those had to be removed, and I had to look at them out of the window. Of course, you can't go to buffets or anything like that. I was okay with that. The other thing was that I love Diet Coke. When I was teaching, I would get Diet Coke in the morning and drink it through second period. Well, and chocolate, love chocolate too. Because of the some of the medications I take, it can make my sugar go high. So I, when I was in the hospital, I said, Lord, you got to take the Diet Coke, which is not good for transplants at all, and the chocolate. Take it away. And you know what? He did. Now, every once in a while, I have to have a chocolate bar, but not like I was eating. So I think that if you develop healthy habits before, you continue with those. I think the hardest adjustment I had to make was the Chinese buffet, but that's okay. They started doing a menu that I could order off of. So just continue with healthy habits you had before. The day that I received the call that I had a match for my transplant. My husband and I had been eating lunch at a Mexican food place with some friends that I had taught with. We were on our way home, and I got a call, and it said my doctor had found a very good lung for me. And I told the nurse, she said, well, it'll be a while. Go home, pack your bags. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go home and take a bath. And so I did, and then headed up to the hospital. But it was almost like I didn't want to scream and holler, yay, they found a match. It was more like a quiet, thank you, God. So, and the joy, it was a very joyous occasion for my family. After the transplant, I think because I had really worked hard at being healthy before, I was only in the hospital 2 weeks. And in fact, about 4 hours after recovery, I walked 360 feet. And I'll have my 8th lung anniversary in July. And, a transplant journey is not easy, but there's lots of support on the internet, probably through your hospital. And so when you feel down or, feel like, oh, this is just hard, look to your support, have a good support group. And I do. And I'm so thankful for my church, my husband, because you need that. Because there are times that I'm like, oh, this is just hard. But I'm very grateful for that. And these 8 years have gone by really quickly and not quietly, but they have been joyous in so many ways. And I thank God every day for the gift I've been given. I think the main thing or the main piece of advice I would give to someone who is going through the transplant or evaluation, or you're hoping to be evaluated, keep active. One of the things that helped me a lot was a pulmonary rehab. They know exactly about oxygen. They know what things you're going to need after the transplant. And I went for four months, I think, and that was very good. If you don't have access to one, use your internet because there are things you can do. But main thing, keep active. You may not feel like it. I didn't. I was on oxygen. It was hard. I was tired. But if you don't, if you aren't able to go through the evaluation is not easy. They want you to be able to accept your lung or kidney or whatever, and to be able to live with it. So you need to be as healthy as you can be.